With the sun about to set, it marks the second night of the journey for Erg and the family that is paying him quite handsomely for protection as they flee from the great Nephilim known as Zeus. Erg, now awakened, walks out of the cave they just set up camp in, startling John, who was dressing right outside the cave, telling Erg that she just isn't comfortable with him seeing her like that. But Erg assures her not to worry as he has seen the shoulders of many women and John has not offended him. But as they talk, John notices something or someone staring and slowly approaching them from deeper in the forest. And as they got closer, they realized it's none other than Zeus. Erg immediately tells her to go wake her parents and get ready to go. Erg then confronts Zeus with a little banter thrown into the mix to buy them time. Zeus then wants him to just hand over the girl and all will be fine, for him at least. But Erg can't let that happen and draws his sword against the Nephilim, who instantly takes the first strike, barely missing Erg, who's completely confused to how a Nephilim can move so fast. With Zeus proclaiming, "I am Zeus, my father was a titan, a being of pure light and power. I have killed hundreds of men. Even lightning itself is at my beck and call." But even at Zeus's quick speed, Erg still manages to dodge his strikes and land a blow on Zeus, who was impressed as few men have ever lasted that long against him. But Zeus is done playing around and strikes Erg with a blow across his back. But as he is going to finish him off, he is rammed by Erg's behemoth Shelby, being piloted by John. Her parents quickly get Erg onto the back of the carriage and they book it. But Zeus is not just quick in combat. He can also run as fast as Shelby, going at a top speed, taking a slash out of the cat. Before he can take another strike, both Zeus and the cat are attacked by wild behemoths, slowing him down, giving Erg and the family enough time to fight off the behemoths and escape. After making significant distance on the journey, Ada checks up on Erg and assesses how bad his wounds are. Erg presses her to know exactly why Zeus is after John, and Ada explains that John is a beautiful woman who drew the eyes of the men in their village, and even the eyes of Zeus, who took her as one of his wives. When John told Zeus that she was pregnant, Zeus informed her that she will have to sacrifice their firstborn child to the gods to ensure their favor. And when she told her parents the news, they fled and sought out Erg to save the child. But they became hesitant when they learned that Erg didn't worship the god of Adam. They thought he would sympathize with Zeus. And Erg interjects that he may not believe the old stories, but he wants no part with any god who demands ritual child sacrifice. For Adam, they can't be too careful, because in the age of darkness, it seems that so-called gods appear every year. But now that Erg knows the truth, even if he did sympathize with Zeus, his life is now in their hands. They travel to the city known as Shurupak. Shurupak. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that. Shurupak. In search of the nearest healer to treat Erg's wounds. The first healer they try boasts that he is able to heal Erg, but the gods demand human blood in exchange for their magics, so the family must cut themselves and wail to the heavens. And at the sound of that, the family barges out of the tent, complaining and begging the question, where can you go for true medicine? Does no one worship the god of Adam anymore? And an old woman overhears the cry and is curious, as she is one of the few people in the city that worships the god of Adam, and she can take them to the rest of the followers who has a healer among them and even the elder. The old woman gladly takes them to see the healer named Roshan, who gets to work immediately, asking them what caused such a wound, to which John says the blade of a Nephilim. At the sound of that, Roshan responds he is going to need to hear the rest of that story later. For now, all the family can do is, if they believe in him, ask the god of Adam to spare Erg. Sometime after, Roshan lets them know that Erg will be fine and that the elder himself wants to see them. And we end this issue with the introduction of the elder saying, "I have done my best to keep my descendants true to the only real God. I am called Seth. I am the elder of this family. Adam was my father." And with that, let's put Erg the Battler issue 2 on our Christian fiction judgment scale. And this one is the 6th certified 5 out of 5 in all categories comic book from Evan David that we have reviewed on the channel. Like I said in our previous review of issue 1, it was solid and I had no complaints. It just didn't feel like it punched that high up on our scale when compared to the comics that are currently in our top 20 list of comics we reviewed on the channel throughout 2023, of which Evan David holds the first, second, fifth, sixth, 7th, 8th, 11th, and 12th spot on that list. So every comic I review from him at this point has some punching up to do on our scale, and this punched its way into the 9th slot on our 2023 top 10 list, which is the standard we use for the judgment scale in 2024. For the story, the pacing of this issue was a lot of fun to read through. The plot direction is one we have seen time and time again in fictional stories of the hired bodyguard being wounded in a fight against the main antagonist, leading to the ones who are in their protection having to venture forward and seek out help for them. A classic plot point set in the antediluvian period of a girl on the run from a Nephilim husband who wants to sacrifice their child to the gods for favor. Which I really love how the story continues to flesh out the allure and threat of Zeus. I did make a mistake referring to both Ada and John as Kenan's daughters in my last review of issue 1, when in actuality, Ada is his wife and John is his daughter. But the way the story mixed in biblical figures in the narrative at the end, we could put a pin on that for the theological basis section to go deeper into that aspect. When it comes to artwork and creativity, Samir Samoa, I think I butchered your name, Samir, I am sorry, and I know this comic came out years ago. He nailed it in this issue, especially the fight against Erg and Zeus. I have no complaints at all when it comes to the art aspects of this comic, and what I said about the concept in my review of issue 1 still stands. When it comes to the theological basis, which refers to how well Christian principles, theology, and scripture are adapted in a piece of Christian fictional work, we omitted it in issue 1, which is usually the case with most of Evan David's writings, but issue 2 is a solid 5 out of 5. I really love the premise of people in the antediluvian world struggling to find others who truly serve the one true God of Adam. In case you don't know, the antediluvian period, which according to theological sources is the time period after the fall of man in the garden but before the flood. And there are a lot of archaeological findings, assumptions, speculations, and theories surrounding this time period. I think some of the most common talking points you'll find regarding that time period are: what were the Nephilim? Are they the offspring of fallen angels dubbed the sons of God and man? Or were the sons of God title simply referring to the descendants of Seth, as the commenter Benjamin from our last video's comment section stated? Did dinosaurs exist during the time of Noah, and are they referred to in the Bible as behemoths according to a passage in Job? All the talking points about the Watchers and the non-Hebrew canon book, the Book of Enoch. There is so much speculation, assumptions, and some irrelevant archaeological findings and a lot of theories surrounding this time period that I think the antediluvian world, along with the end times, are the safest periods for fictional, biblically themed stories to be set in, which are themes that Evan David has hit the nail on in his writing, especially on the theological basis aspects of it. I love the Ada and a family struggle of finding people who live according to the standard of the one true God in a time period that the Bible states in Genesis 6 verse 5 to 6, the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually, and the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. It's a cool plot direction, especially to see them end up meeting Seth, the son of Adam, doing his best to keep his descendants steadfast to the worship of the one true God of his father. And to add Erg's skepticism and calling the worship of the God of Adam old stories and tales really drives it in for me. I honestly love it, which is why when it comes to my enjoyment and how likely I am to recommend it, as with every other category, is a 5 out of 5. I highly recommend you pick up this issue, because overall, Erg the Battler issue 2 gets a 5 out of 5 from the Xplanations. But let me know what you think of the comic based on what was discussed in the comments below. Do you agree with me, or do you have a different take than I do? Link to purchase the comic will be in the description, as well as a link to Evan David's Patreon if you would like to support him and his awesome work. If you enjoyed the video, then why not consider leaving a like on it and subscribing for more reviews and coverage of comics made by professing believers. If you enjoyed the video to the point you want to check out another one on the channel, then be sure to click the card at the top right hand corner of your screen to check out our other Erg the Battler reviews, or check out our complete 2023 must-read Christian comics list where I ranked all 37 Christian comics reviewed on the channel in our first episode of the Keto Ship Initiative podcast.